I am Loretta Hayes, 72 years old, and I was currently engaged in the most delicate operation of my week. My hands, weathered and marked with the kind of age spots that come from decades of honest work, were perfectly steady as I held the microscopic tweezers. I was in my garage, a converted workspace that smelled of machine oil, sawdust, and discipline. On the workbench before me lay the disassembled guts of a 1967 chronograph. It was a mess of springs, gears, and escapements. To anyone else, it was a pile of junk. To me, it was a puzzle waiting for a solution. Tick, tick, tick. The rhythm of the wall clock was the only sound in the room. I exhaled slowly, lowering the balance wheel into place. This was my life now. Precision, quiet, the satisfaction of making broken things work again. My home in Riverside, California, was much like this watch. It was old, built in the era when things were constructed to last, not to be flipped for a profit. The floorboards creaked with history, the windows rattled in the desert wind, singing songs of the storms they had survived. It was the home Raymond and I had bought 40 years ago. Raymond, even after a decade, saying his name in my head felt like touching a live wire. He was the architect of our life, the visionary. I was just the engineer who made sure the walls didn't fall down. I tightened the final screw. Perfect. Then the silence was shattered. It wasn't a knock. It was the hum of an engine that sounded like a dental drill. A high-pitched synthetic whine that signaled the arrival of something expensive and soulless. I looked up through the garage window. A lucid air, gleaming in a pretentiously named shade of stellar white, was gliding up my cracked asphalt driveway. It looked ridiculous against the backdrop of my overgrown bougainvillea and peeling fence paint. The driver's door opened. Out stepped a leg, then a person. Darnell Kingston. He didn't walk. He strutted. He was 30 years old and vibrated with the frantic energy of someone who is constantly checking their stock portfolio. He wore oversized sunglasses that probably cost more than my lawnmower, and he surveyed my property with the look of a health inspector finding a rat. Then the passenger door opened. My daughter Maya. She climbed out slowly, adjusting her blazer. She looked pale. She always looked pale around him, like a plant that wasn't getting enough sun. I wiped my hands on a rag, removing the oil. I didn't rush. I placed the tweezers back in their velvet case. I closed the watch. I took a breath. Showtime, I whispered to the empty garage. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from, or what time it is for you. I met them at the front door before they could ring the bell. I didn't want that jarring sound today. Mom, Maya said, her voice jumping an octave. She went for a hug, but it was awkward. She patted my back with a stiff hand, careful not to wrinkle her linen suit. Good to see you. You're looking rustic. Hello, Maya, I said, stepping back. Darnell didn't hug. He didn't offer a hand. He just tilted his head, offering his cheek like a king offering a ring to be kissed. I ignored it and nodded. Loretta, he said. His voice was smooth, polished, and completely devoid of warmth. The drive was atrocious. The construction on the 91 simply criminal. He pushed past me into the hallway. I watched his designer loafers click violently on the hardwood floors Raymond had loved. He stopped in the center of the living room and did a slow 360-degree turn. His eyes were scanners. They logged the fraying fabric on the armchair. They noted the dust on the mantel. They zoomed in on the stack of library books on the side table. It's so cozy, he said. The word dripped with condescension. Like a time capsule. Doesn't it smell a bit musty? It smells like collard greens, I said, closing the front door. I've had them in the slow cooker since 6 this morning. Darnell wrinkled his nose, a perfect little button of surgical alteration. Oh, collard greens, how pastoral. Maya, darling, remind me to send Loretta that air purifier link, the industrial one. Maya laughed nervously. Right, yeah, good idea, babe. She wouldn't look me in the eye. She was looking at the floor, at the walls, anywhere but at her mother. Can I get you water? I asked. Coffee. Do you have sparkling? Darnell asked, running a finger along the back of the sofa and then checking his finger for dust. I have tap, I said. It's cold. I'm fine, he said quickly, wiping his finger on his designer trousers. We can't stay long. We have a tasting at the estate at 4. But we have news, big news. Mom, Maya said. She finally looked at me. There was a desperation in her eyes, a silent plea for validation. Come to the kitchen. The table is sturdy. We sat at the round oak table. I sat in my usual chair, the one facing the window. Maya sat opposite me. Darnell hovered. He pulled out a chair, inspected the seat, frowned, and then decided to remain standing. "So," I said, folding my hands, "what is the news?" Maya cleared her throat. "We set a date, Mom. The wedding, it's happening." "October 12th, Darnell interjected, cutting her off, "at the Kingston Estate and Country Club." "That's grand," I said, and I meant it. I wanted Maya to be happy. I wanted her to find a partner. I just wished she hadn't found a shark. "Congratulations. It's going to be the event of the season," Darnell said, his eyes lighting up with a cold fire. "My mother, Patricia, is pulling out all the stops. We're flying in orchids from Singapore. The chef is preparing a 7-course journey through French cuisine. It's not just a wedding, Loretta. It's a statement." "A statement of what?" I asked. "Of our brand," he said instantly. "The Hayes-Kingston merger. That's what Mother calls it. A merger, a merger," I repeated. "I thought it was a marriage." Maya winced. "It is, Mom, it is. But you know, with Darnell's family, the business connections, it's important to project the right image." "Exactly," Darnell said. He leaned forward, placing his manicured hands on my table. "And that brings us to the guest list." The air in the kitchen changed. The smell of the greens seemed to fade, replaced by the scent of Darnell's expensive, aggressive cologne. "We're inviting Governor Sterling," he listed, ticking off fingers, "the CEO of Vertex Dynamics, 3 senators, the entire board of my mother's holding company. It's a very high-caliber crowd, Loretta. I'm sure it will be impressive," I said calmly. "It has to be flawless," he corrected. "My parents are very particular. They want everything to be appropriate." There was that word, appropriate. It was a weaponized word. "Appropriate," I echoed. "I see. We just want to make sure everyone is comfortable," Maya said, rushing to fill the silence. "You know, it's a lot of pressure, Mom. Everyone watching, judging." "I'm used to judgment, Maya," I said. "Your father and I faced plenty of it." Darnell sighed, a sharp exhalation of impatience. "Yes, well, times have changed, Loretta. Raymond was charming, I'm sure. But this is the modern world. Image is currency." He looked me up and down. I was wearing my work flannel and canvas trousers. There was a smudge of grease on my left cuff. "Speaking of image," he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness, "I have a stylist, a wonderful woman named Junlu. I was thinking I could send her over to help you find a dress, something that fits, something that doesn't look like it was bought during the Carter administration." "I have a dress," I said. "The navy silk. It's perfectly fine." "For a funeral, perhaps?" Darnell laughed. It was a jagged sound. "Maya, tell her." Maya rubbed the back of her neck. "Mom, it's just, the estate is black tie, strict, very strict. We just want you to look, you know, like you belong, like you belong." I looked at my daughter. I saw the fear in her. She was terrified of him. She was terrified of his parents. She was a 34-year-old woman trembling like a chihuahua. "I will ensure I meet the dress code," I said softly. "Good," Darnell said, straightening up, "because, frankly, Loretta, we can't have any loose ends. This wedding is the launch pad for Maya's career at my mother's firm. If she looks weak, or if her family looks distinct, it reflects poorly on the portfolio." "Distinct," I said. "Is that what I am?" "You're quaint," he said, checking his watch. "Oh, look at the time. We have to fly. The florist is waiting, and if I'm late, she'll start crying again." They moved to the door. I walked them out. "Bye, Mom," Maya said, giving me a quick wave without turning around. "Goodbye, Loretta," Darnell called out. "Do something about that greens smell, will you? It sticks to the fabric." I watched the white lucid air glide away, disappearing down the street. I went back inside. I walked to the kitchen. I opened the slow cooker. The greens smelled rich, earthy, and real. I took a spoon and tasted them. They were perfect. They didn't want a mother. They wanted a prop. 3 days passed. I spent them in the garden, pruning the rose bushes Raymond had planted 20 years ago. They were thorny, stubborn things, but if you treated them with respect, they bloomed magnificently. On Thursday afternoon, I heard a car. Not the electric whine of the Lucid, but the rattle of a muffler. I looked up. It was Maya's old Honda, the one she drove when Darnell wasn't looking. The one she was still making payments on because she couldn't afford the insurance on the Lucid. She parked in the driveway. She sat in the car for 10 minutes. I watched her from the porch. She was gripping the steering wheel, her knuckles white. Finally, she got out. She walked up the path like a woman marching to the gallows. "Hello, daughter," I said. putting down my shears. Hey Mom, she said. She didn't come up the stairs. She stood on the lawn, looking at her shoes. Come inside, I said. I made sweet tea. I can't, she said. Her voice was tight. I can't stay. I have to say something. I leaned against the porch railing. I crossed my arms. Okay, I'm listening. She took a breath. She looked at the sky. She looked at the fence. She looked everywhere but at me. We had a meeting, she said. Me, Darnell, Patricia, and Victor. The Kingston family. A board meeting, I asked. Family meeting, she corrected, though it sounded the same. About the wedding, about the logistics. Go on, Mom, look. This is impossibly hard for me. She was sweating. It was 70 degrees out and she was sweating. We feel that, given the complexity of the event and the guest list and the specific dynamic. Maya, I cut in. Stop speaking in corporate. Speak English. She flinched. We think it would be better if you didn't attend. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. A bird chirped somewhere in the palm tree. A car drove by in the distance. I see, I said. My voice didn't shake. My heart had stopped just for a second, but my voice was steady. You are uninviting me. It's not like that, she rushed to explain, her hands waving frantically. It's risk management. Darnell thinks, Patricia thinks, that you would be uncomfortable. You'd be alone. You don't know these people. You don't talk like them. You don't dress like them. We're trying to spare you the embarrassment. Embarrassment. I repeated, whose embarrassment? Maya, mine or yours? She stopped. She looked at me then, really looked at me. I saw the shame burning in her eyes, but behind the shame was cowardice. It's a cultural misalignment, she mumbled, reciting a line she had clearly been fed. The Kingston brand is very specific. We just want to ensure brand consistency for the launch. I am your mother, I said quietly, not a marketing variable. I know, she shouted. I know, Mom, but Patricia is making me a vice president. If this wedding goes well, if the investors are impressed, I'm set for life. I can't risk it. I just can't. She took a step back. We'll do something after. Just us. Maybe dinner at that diner you like. Once the honeymoon is over. Once things settle down. So, I am a secret, I said, to be kept in a diner. It's just for now, she pleaded. Please, Mom, don't make this harder than it is. Just understand. I understand perfectly, I said. She looked relieved. The fool actually looked relieved. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. I knew you'd get it. She started to back away, toward her car. Maya, I called out. She stopped, her hand on the car door. Does Darnell know? I asked. Does he know about the covenant? She frowned. The what? You mean Dad's trust thing? Yeah, he knows there's money. That's why he's letting me contribute to the wedding costs. It's an investment, Mom. She knows about the money, I said, but does she know about the terms? Mom, stop with the riddles. Just send the check when you get the invoice. Okay, we're counting on it. She got in the car. She drove away. I stood on the porch for a long time. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the lawn Raymond and I had planted together. She didn't read it. I whispered to the roses. Raymond, she never read the document. I went into the house and walked straight to the study. It was a dark, wood-paneled room that smelled of old paper and pipe tobacco. A habit Raymond had given up 20 years ago, but the scent lingered in the curtains. I sat at the heavy mahogany desk. On the corner stood a silver frame. Raymond. He was laughing in the photo. The wind was blowing across his face and he was trying to shield his eyes, his smile sparkling with that fierce, terrifying intelligence he possessed. He was a Hayes before I was a Hayes. He came from money so old it didn't need to shout. It whispered, and he had hated the noise of new wealth. You predicted this, I told the photo. You sat in this very chair 5 years before you died, and you told me. Memory, not a flashback but a felt presence. I could almost hear his voice. She's soft, Loretta. We loved her too much. Or maybe we protected her too much. But she bends to whoever is loudest in the room. And one day, someone very loud is going to walk in. He had written the covenant. He had spent weeks with Montgomery Vance drafting every clause, every definition. It's a safety net, he had said, but it's also a trap door. If she stands tall, it catches her. If she crawls, it drops her. I touched the glass of the frame. She crawled. Raymond, I said. She crawled right out of the driveway. I opened the top drawer of the desk. I pulled out the file, the Hayes Integrity Covenant. I didn't need to read it. I knew it by heart, but I opened it anyway. Clause 4, Section B. The beneficiary must demonstrate, to the absolute satisfaction of the trustee, a character defined by spinal fortitude, fiscal prudence, and unwavering familial loyalty. Breach of covenant results in immediate and irrevocable redirection of all assets to the secondary beneficiary, the Raymond Hayes Foundation for Historic Preservation. I closed the file. The room felt very quiet. It wasn't a sad silence. It was the silence of a machine that had just been switched on. The courier arrived the next morning, a black van, a man in a uniform that looked more like a paramilitary outfit than a delivery service. Package for Mrs. Loretta Hayes, he said, handing me a clipboard. Sign here. Press hard. I signed. He handed me a box. It was heavy, velvet-covered, deep purple. I took it to the kitchen table. I opened it. Inside, nestled in satin, was a folder made of thick, cream-colored cardstock. Embossed in gold leaf on the cover were the intertwined initials H and K, and below that, the Kingston Hayes Union. I opened the folder. It wasn't an invitation. It was an invoice. A single sheet of paper printed on linen bond. To the estate of Raymond Hayes, Loretta Hayes, Trusteari, bride's familial contribution. The list was detailed. It was precise. And it was horrifying. Venue rental platinum tier, $65. Catering French service, 300 guests, $85. Florals, Singapore import orchid pay mix, $25,000. Bride's aesthetic upgrade teeth veneer, styling, tailoring, $10,000. I stared at that line. Bride's aesthetic upgrade. They were billing me to fix my daughter's teeth for the photos, but the bottom line was the kicker. Total due, upon receipt, $185,000. Attached to the invoice with a gold paperclip was a handwritten note on a sticky pad. It was Maya's handwriting, scrawled, hasty, the penmanship of a girl who never finished her homework. Mom, please just handle this so we can move forward. Darnell says, wire it to the account below by Friday. It's essential for the optics. Thanks. Essential for the optics. I laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. I looked at the dripping faucet in the sink. Drip, 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 dot. They wanted $185,000. They wanted me to pay for the party where I wasn't welcome. They wanted me to buy the champagne they would toast with while I sat in a diner alone. They thought I was a checkbook, a senile, rusty ATM. I stood up. I picked up the heavy velvet box and walked to the trash can. I threw the box in, but I kept the invoice. Okay, Maya, I said, folding the paper crisply. You want a contribution. I'll give you a contribution. I sat back down at the table with a red pen. I began to circle items on the invoice. Reputation management fee. Circled. Valet security surcharge. Circled. Custom ice sculpture. The merger logo. Circled twice. The sheer arrogance of it was breathtaking. It wasn't just greed. It was contempt. They didn't just want the money. They wanted the submission. They wanted to know that they could slap me in the face and I would thank them for the contact. I looked at the date. The wedding was in 8 days. They needed this money. Maya had said it herself. Essential for the optics. That meant they had already spent it. They had booked the vendors, ordered the flowers, hired the chef, all on the promise of the Hayes Trust money. They were leveraging a fortune they didn't have yet. I walked to the calendar on the wall. I circled Friday. Deadline. I whispered. I wasn't going to wire the money. I wasn't going to call and argue. I was going to follow the instructions. I was going to handle it. I grabbed my keys. I needed to go to Riverside. I needed to see Montgomery. I didn't take the truck. I walked to the back of the garage and pulled the tarp off the Jaguar. It was a 1968 Series 1.5 British Racing Green. Raymond and I had restored every bolt together. The engine roared to life, a deep, throaty growl that shook the dust off the rafters. This was a car that demanded respect. I drove into town. Montgomery Vance's office wasn't in the new glass complex by the highway. It was in a brownstone near the courthouse, the same place it had been for 40 years. Montgomery was 70. Like me, but he dressed like he was 30 and hunting for sport. He wore a 3-piece suit in a shade of gray that suggested storm clouds. Loretta, he said, standing up as I entered his library. You look like a woman who's about to start a war. I'm not starting it, Monty, I said, tossing the invoice onto his desk. I'm finishing it. He put on his spectacles. He picked up the linen bond paper. He read the list. His eyebrows climbed higher with every line. Teeth veneer, he asked, looking over the rims. Are they serious? Deadly, I said. And look at the note. He read Maya's scroll. He set the paper down and leaned back, steepling his fingers. A slow, predatory smile spread across his face. They banned you, he stated. Risk management, I said. Cultural misalignment. And then, they bill you. $185,000. Montgomery laughed. It was a rich baritone sound. Oh, Raymond is dancing in his grave right now. He knew. He absolutely knew. He did, I said. Now, the covenant. Montgomery stood up and walked to the wall safe. He spun the dial. He pulled out the leather-bound original document, the Hazing Integrity Covenant, he announced, placing it on the desk like a holy relic. Let's review the battlefield terrain, shall we? He flipped to page 12. Here we are, Montgomery said. Clause 4, Section B. The heir must demonstrate spinal fortitude. That's the legal term Raymond insisted on. Spinal fortitude and unwavering filial loyalty. Precisely, I added. Now, Garrick, as the sole trustee, you have absolute discretion. The question is simple. In your judgment, has Maya Hayes met the criteria? I thought about the Honda in the driveway, the shame in her eyes, the invoice. She's failed, I said, spectacularly. Then, Montgomery said, slamming the book shut, the trust is effectively dissolved for her, the assets $12 million. Give or take the market fluctuations are contractually obligated to transfer to the Raymond Hayes Foundation, and the timeline. I asked. Immediate, Montgomery said. Technically, the moment you decide the breach has occurred, the money is no longer hers. It never was. It was potential energy. Now it's kinetic energy, moving away from her. However, I said, raising a finger, they don't know that. No, Montgomery grinned. They think you're just the rubber stamp. They're waiting for the wire transfer. I want to send a response, I said. Official, we can draft a rejection letter, Montgomery suggested. Cite the clause. Legalese, scary. No, I said. That gives them time to prepare. It gives them time to spin it. I want to send a contribution, as requested. Montgomery looked at me. He saw the look in my eye, the same look I had when I was fixing a watch that everyone said was broken beyond repair. What are you planning, Loretta? I'm going to write a check, I said. I pulled out my personal checkbook, not the trust ledger, my personal account from the Riverside Credit Union, the one with the picture of the local mission on the checks. I took Montgomery's Mont Blanc pen. Date, October 8th, pay to the order of Maya Hayes and Darnell Kingston. I paused. I savored the ink flowing onto the paper. Amount, $1. Oh, I wrote it out in the long line. $1.01. $1, Montgomery whispered, watching over my shoulder. It's poetic. And the memo, I said. I wrote in the bottom left corner, in clear block letters, memo, as per the value of your request. I tore the check out. Rip, do you have an envelope? I asked. Montgomery opened his drawer. I have the firm stationery, very official. No, I said. Something bright, something that screams open me first. He rummaged around. I have these neon pink ones. My granddaughter left them here for her birthday invites. Perfect. I slid the check into the neon pink envelope. I sealed it. Loretta, Montgomery said, his eyes twinkling. You know what happens when they get this right. They won't just be mad. They'll be dangerous. People like the Kingstons, when they get humiliated, they sue. Let them sue, I said, standing up. I have the covenant. I have the truth. I'll keep the file handy, Montgomery said. And Loretta, watch your back. A cornered animal bites. I'm not worried about the bite, I said, pocketing the pink envelope. I'm worried about the infection. I mailed the check, but I couldn't just sit at home and wait for the explosion. I needed intel. I needed to know exactly what I was up against. The next day, Friday, I drove the old Ford truck, my workhorse, to the Kingston Estate and Country Club. I didn't go to the front gate. One knew the service roads. I used to consult on the irrigation systems for this county 30 years ago. I parked near the loading docks. I put on a generic blue work cap and a high-visibility vest I kept in the glove box. I grabbed a clipboard. I walked right past the security guard. Delivery for the kitchens, I mumbled, waving the clipboard. Yeah, round back, he grunted, checking his phone. Invisibility is easy when you look like labor. I walked through the labyrinth of the service corridors. The place was a hive of panic. Waiters were running with trays. Florists were shouting about hydration levels. I found myself near the entrance to the grand ballroom. I stayed in the shadows of a heavy velvet curtain, and there I saw them. Darnell was standing in the center of the dance floor. He was screaming. This is beige, he shrieked. He was holding a napkin. I asked for This is sand. Do I look like I want a sand wedding? Standing in front of him was a man in a black pantsuit. He looked exhausted. His hair was fraying at the edges, and he was holding a tablet like a shield. Mr. Kingston, the man said, his voice trembling but controlled. The die lot for the accrue was discontinued. We matched it as close as possible. Under the lights, it will look. I don't care about the lights, Darnell yelled. He threw the napkin. It fluttered sadly to the floor. Fix it or you're fired. And don't think you're getting the final installment until every single napkin is accrue. Mr. Kingston, the man pleaded. The vendor needs the deposit today. If we don't pay the linen company, they pull the tablecloths, all of them. That's your problem, Marcus. Darnell sneered. Figure it out. That's what we pay you for. Although, looking at this, he kicked the napkin. I'm not sure why we pay you at all. Darnell stormed off, his loafers clacking like gunfire. The man, Marcus, stood there, his shoulders slumped. He dropped the tablet to his side and put his head in his hands. I stepped out from the curtain. Accrue has a yellow undertone, I said softly. Sand is more gray. He's wrong, by the way. Under the amber halogens. In this room, sand will look warmer. Accrue would look sickly. Marcus jumped. He spun around, eyes wide. Who are you? You can't be here. I'm just a woman who knows about lighting, I said. I bent down and picked up the napkin. I handed it to him. You're the planner. I'm the punching bag in chief, he muttered, taking the napkin. He looked at me. He saw the work boots, the vest. He relaxed. You here for the The AC is rattling in the east wing. Something like that, I lied. He seems pleasant, I said. Marcus let out a bitter laugh. He's a nightmare with a credit limit. Except he stopped. He looked around to make sure no one was listening. Except the credit cards are getting declined. I've had to run his mother's card 3 times for the ice sculpture. It finally went through. But it was tight. Financial trouble? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Leveraged to the hilt. Marcus whispered. I hear things. The mom, Patricia, she's banking everything on this merger. They need the bride's money to plug the holes. They're stiffing the florists until Monday, hoping the cash comes in over the weekend. Monday, I said. That's a dangerous game. It's a house of cards, Marcus said, and I'm the one holding the glue. He looked at me. His eyes were tired but sharp. Why do you care, HVAC lady? I took off my cap. I looked him in the eye. Because I'm the bride's mother, I said, and I'm the one holding the cash. Marcus froze. He looked at my vest, my boots, my face. You, he whispered. But she said you were a recluse, senile. That's why you weren't invited. I'm not senile, I said. I'm just particular. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, a smile broke across his face. A real smile. You're the money, he said. The $12 million. I am. And you're here in a high-vis vest. Intel gathering. Marcus laughed. It was a sound of pure relief. Oh my God, you're my hero. Do you know how badly he treats people? He made the sous chef cry yesterday. He's a former Marine. I need to know the schedule, I said. When does the big payment happen? The one that pays you, the one that pays everyone. Marcus checked his tablet. Saturday, 5:01 p.m., right before the reception dinner starts. We run the final charge for the catering, the venue balance, and the vendor payouts. Total is roughly $150. If that card declines, the chef walks. The band packs up. I walk. 5 p.m., I noted. Are you going to pay it? He asked. I sent a contribution. I said, it should arrive tomorrow. Is it enough? It's exactly what they deserve. Marcus looked at me. He understood. He didn't know the details, but he knew justice when he saw it. Here, he said, handing me a printed schedule from his clipboard. Access codes for the service doors are on the back, in case the HVAC needs checking again. Thank you, Marcus, I said. I'll see you Saturday. I hope so, he said. Bring popcorn. I was back in my kitchen on Saturday morning when the phone rang. It was the landline, the old rotary I kept on the wall. Ringing. I knew who it was. The pink envelope had landed. I picked it up. Hayes, residence. You old fool. It wasn't Maya. It was Darnell. His voice was so loud I had to hold the receiver away from my ear. Hello, Darnell, I said calmly. I assume the mail has arrived. $1? He shrieked. $1. Is this a joke? Are you mocking us? I read the invoice, I said. I reviewed the request. I calculated the value of my presence at an event I am banned from. The math came out to $1. Actually, it came out to 0, but I wanted to be generous. "You senile, bitter old woman," he screamed. "Do you have any idea what you've done? We have vendors waiting. We have contracts." "Then I suggest you pay them," I said. "Use your own money. Or Maya's." "Oh wait, Maya doesn't have any money, does she? She just has potential. It is her money," he yelled. "The trust is hers. You are stealing it. You are incompetent. The trust belongs to the person who meets the standards," I said. "Maya failed." "Listen to me," he hissed. His voice dropped low, venomous. "You think you're clever. You think you can teach us a lesson. My mother's lawyers are eating lunch right now. By the time they're done, you'll be in a home. We will have you declared mentally unfit. We will strip you of that trusteeship so fast your head will spin. And then we'll put you in the cheapest state-run facility we can find. The one with the rats. Is that a threat, Darnell?" "It's a promise. Send the wire today, or say goodbye to your freedom." Click. She hung up. I stood there, the dial tone humming in my ear. Rats Estate Home. They weren't just greedy, they were evil. I dialed Montgomery immediately. "Monty," I said when he answered. "They got the check. He threatened to commit me. He's claiming incompetence." "Standard tactic," Montgomery said, sounding bored. "Intimidation?" "No," I said. "He said his mother's lawyers are working on it now. We need to freeze the trust account officially. If they try to hack it or use a power of attorney, I'll file the motion," Montgomery said. "I'll call the bank. Give me an hour." An hour later, Montgomery called back. His voice was different. It wasn't bored. It was tight. "Loretta," he said, "we have a problem." "What problem?" "I called the bank to place the trustee lock on the account. I couldn't." "Why not?" "Because there's already a lock on it, but not yours." I gripped the phone. "Explain." "Sterling and Associates, Kingston's firm. They filed an emergency ex parte injunction this morning at 9 a.m., before the mail even arrived. They anticipated this." "On what grounds?" "Cognitive decline," Montgomery said. "They submitted an affidavit from a doctor, some hired gun doctor, who reviewed your erratic behavior based on witness testimony from Maya. They claim you are a danger to the estate assets. The judge granted a temporary freeze on your ability to move funds or change permissions until a competency hearing." "When is the hearing?" "Monday morning, 9 a.m., and the account status now, it's in limbo," Montgomery said. "You can't block access. But here's the kicker. Maya has a secondary debit card for the account, issued years ago, for emergency educational expenses. It's still active. Because of the injunction, I can't cancel that card. Only the trustee can, and the trustee's powers are suspended." "So," I said, the cold reality washing over me, "if Maya uses that card, the bank will authorize it because the freeze applies to me, not the beneficiary's existing access. Technically, the bank should flag a large transaction," Montgomery said, "but if they run it as multiple vendor payments, or if Patricia calls in a favor with the bank manager, it might go through. Loretta, they outmaneuvered us for the weekend. They blocked me from stopping the theft. Until Monday," I said. "By then, the money will be spent. We can sue them later to get it back, but the money will be gone," I finished. "And the wedding will happen, and they will win." "I'm sorry, Loretta. I didn't think they'd move this fast." "They're desperate," I said. "Desperate people move fast." I hung up. I looked at the clock. It was Saturday noon. The wedding was in 3 hours. The grand swipe was at 5 p.m. I couldn't stop it from here. I couldn't call the bank. I couldn't call the police. It was a civil matter. "Okay," I said. I walked to the closet. If I couldn't stop the transaction digitally, I had to stop it physically. I had to possess the card, or I had to stop the hand that swiped it. I didn't panic. Panic is for people who don't have a plan. I went to my bedroom. I bypassed the suit bag. I opened the bottom drawer. I pulled out my heavy canvas work pants, Carhartt double knee. I pulled out my Red Wing boots, steel-toed, scuffed with mud and oil. I put on a flannel shirt, red and black check, faded at the elbows. I looked in the mirror. I didn't look like a millionaire trustee. I didn't look like a guest. I looked like Loretta Hayes, the woman who built things, the woman who fixed things. "Appropriate," I whispered. This was the most appropriate outfit I owned. I went to the garage. I grabbed the keys to the Ford truck. I checked my pocket. I had the pink envelope's twin, a copy of the $1 check, and I had the invoice. I was going to the Kingston Estate, and I wasn't going to the service entrance to hide this time. I called Marcus on the drive over. "Marcus," I said, "it's Loretta. Where are you?" "Chaos here," he whispered. "The flowers arrived, but they're wilting. Darnell is screaming about the humidity." "I'm 10 minutes away," I said. "Listen to me carefully. The payment? Who physically runs the card? I do, he said, or Patricia hands it to me. Don't run it, I said. Loretta, if I don't run it at 5 o'clock, the chef packs up. He's serious. He has the trucks idling. Stall, I said. Tell them the system is rebooting. Tell them the signal is weak. Give me until 5:05. What are you going to do? I'm going to decline the transaction, I said. Personally, you're coming in. I'm crashing the party. Marcus. Okay, he breathed. Okay, I'll stall. But hurry. Patricia is sweating vodka. She's nervous. 5:05, I promised. I pulled into the service lot again. The Ford rattled as I killed the engine. I stepped out. The air smelled of roast beef and expensive perfume. The blend was nauseating. I walked to the back door. The security guard was there, a beefy guy in a yellow shirt. Delivery, he asked, eyeing my empty hands. Emergency repair, I said. Walk-in freezer is down. Shep is losing his mind. Oh crap, the guard said. Go, go. He buzzed me in. Buffus had clearly spread the rumor of mechanical failure. He was good. I moved through the corridors. I knew the layout now. I passed the bridal suite. I heard shouting. It's too tight. It's cutting off my circulation. Maya's voice. Babe, you look beautiful. Darnell's voice. Weak, thin. Shut up, Maya. Just get me a Xanax. I kept walking. I didn't want to see them yet. I wanted to see the money men. I found a spot behind the heavy drapes of the ballroom entrance. From here, I could see the entire floor. It was grotesque. Everything was white. White carpets, white drapes, white flowers. It looked like a mental institution designed by Liberace. In the center was the ice sculpture, a giant H and K intertwined. It was already melting slightly under the hot lights, dripping onto the floor. Guests were filing in. I recognized faces from the news, the governor, a senator, 2 tech CEOs, and there, holding court at the head table, was Patricia Kingston. She was a large woman, red-faced, laughing too loud. She was clapping people on the back, shaking hands, acting the part of the billionaire. But I saw her eyes. They were darting around the room, checking the exits, checking her phone. She was terrified. I slipped into the kitchen to check on the timeline. It was a war zone. Where is the sea bass? The chef screamed. He was a tall Frenchman with a scar over his eye. Holding, chef, waiting for confirmation. A sous chef yelled back. If I don't get the code in 5 minutes, this fish goes in the garbage. The chef roared. I am not cooking for free. Marcus was in the corner, pretending to fiddle with a credit card machine. He looked up, saw me in the doorway, and gave a tiny, imperceptible nod. 0.5 minutes. I needed to give her one last chance. Even now, even after the lawsuit, she was my daughter. I texted her, wine cellar, now or I walk out onto the stage. I watched from the shadows as she checked her phone. She went pale. She whispered something to Darnell and scurried away. I met her in the temperature-controlled wine room. It was cold. Mom, she hissed, closing the glass door. What are you doing here? If Darnell sees you, if Patricia sees you, look at you, I said. She was wearing a wedding gown that cost more than my car. Her face was orange, spray tan. Her teeth were blindingly white. She looked like a doll, a Barbie left out in the sun. You have to leave, she begged. Please, the payment is about to go through. Once it's done, once we're married, I'll fix it. I'll pay you back. You don't have the money, Maya, I said. And neither do they. They're rich, she insisted. Patricia is worth millions. Patricia is broke, I said. Marcus told me. The vendors told me. Why do you think they need your trust fund to pay for the fish? Maya stopped. No, that's just cash flow. Liquidity issues. It's bankruptcy. Maya, you're marrying into a sinkhole. I don't care, she shouted. I love him. Do you? I asked. Or do you love the idea of him? Do you love the vice presidency? Get out, she spat. Just get out. You're jealous. You're a sad, lonely old woman, and you can't stand that I'm surpassing you, surpassing me. I repeated, go home, Mom. Go back to your garage and your greens. Leave the real world to us. She turned and ran out of the cellar. Okay, Maya, I said to the rows of expensive wine. I tried. I checked my watch. 5:02 p.m. I walked to the ballroom entrance. I didn't hide this time. I stood right in the open doorway, bathed in the light of the crystal chandeliers. The reception was starting. The guests were seated. Patricia Kingston tapped a spoon against a glass. Ladies and gentlemen, she boomed. Welcome. Tonight we celebrate the union of 2 great families, the Kingstons and the Hayeses. Polite applause. And to kick things off, Patricia said, waving at Marcus, who was standing by the wall with the card machine. Let's get the formalities settled so we can enjoy this magnificent feast. It was a signal. Run the card so we can eat. Marcus walked over. He held the machine. He looked at me across the room. I nodded. Marcus handed the machine to Patricia. She pulled out a card. The card, Maya's emergency trust card. She swiped it with a flourish. She smiled at the governor. She waited for the beep, 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 beep. A low, angry tone. Patricia frowned. She looked at the screen. Decline. She laughed nervously. Technology. Chip must be dirty. She wiped it on her jacket. She inserted the chip. Beep, beep, beep. Decline. The room went quiet. The string quartet stopped playing. Maya, Patricia hissed. Get over here. Maya ran up to the head table. Well, what is it? Authorize it, Patricia whispered harshly. Call the bank. It's declining. Maya pulled out her phone. She dialed the bank. She put it on speaker because her hands were shaking too hard to hold it. Welcome to Riverside Trust, the automated voice said. Please enter your PIN. Maya punched it in. Access denied, the voice said cheerfully. This card has been deactivated by the trustee. That's impossible, Maya yelled. We have an injunction. The trustee is suspended. Representative, Maya screamed at the phone. Representative, there seems to be a problem, Patricia announced to the room, sweat beading on her forehead. Just a technical glitch. Give us a moment. It's not a glitch, a voice said. It was my voice. I stepped onto the marble floor. My steel-toed boots clunked heavy and loud. Clump, clump, clump. Every head turned. 300 people in tuxedos and gowns stared at the old woman in the flannel shirt and dirty pants. Security, Darnell shrieked. Get her out. It's the janitor. She's drunk. I'm not the janitor, I said, walking steadily toward the head table. I stopped 10 feet away from them. I looked at the governor. I looked at the senators. I am the bank, I said. Mom, Maya whispered. You cut the card. I didn't cut the card, I said. The bank did, because I reported a theft. Patricia roared. This is authorized family usage. No, I said. It's fraud. I pulled the invoice from my pocket. I unfolded it. I received this, I said, holding it up. An invoice for $185,000 for a party I was explicitly banned from attending. The crowd murmured. I heard a few gasps. You banned her, someone whispered. It was a misunderstanding. Patricia yelled. She's unwell. She's confused. I look confused to you, Patricia, I asked. I stood tall. My spine was straight. My voice was clear. I built half the irrigation systems in this county. I know structural failure when I see it. And this, I pointed to the wedding party, is a structural failure. Get her out, Darnell screamed. He grabbed a steak knife from the table. I will kill her. Get her out. Marcus stepped forward. He handed me a microphone. Thank you, Marcus, I said. Darnell stared at Marcus. You're helping her? You yelled at me about napkins, Marcus said, crossing his arms, and your check bounced. I turned to the crowd. My name is Loretta Hayes, I said. My voice boomed through the speakers. My late husband was Raymond Hayes. The name Hayes rippled through the room like a shockwave. The governor sat up straighter. The old money knew that name. My husband set up a trust, I continued, for our daughter, to be given to her when she became a woman of integrity. I looked at Maya. She was shrinking into her gown. He wrote a covenant, I said. The Hayes Integrity Covenant. It requires spinal fortitude. It requires loyalty. I pulled out the pink envelope copy, the $1 check. This week, I said, my daughter and her new family tried to have me declared insane. They filed a lawsuit to strip me of my rights so they could access the money to pay for. I looked around. This ice sculpture. That's a lie, Patricia shouted. We are protecting the estate. You are protecting your insolvency, I countered. Marcus tells me you haven't paid the florists, or the chef, or the venue. I looked at the chef, who was standing in the kitchen doorway with his arms crossed. Chef, I called out, have you been paid? No, mademoiselle, the chef shouted back. 0. There you have it, I said. The covenant is clear. In the event of a breach of loyalty, the trust is dissolved. No, Maya moaned. No, Mom, please. The money, I said. All $12 million is gone, Maya. It belongs to the foundation now. It's putting roofs on historic libraries. It's fixing old bridges. It is not buying sea bass for people who hate me. I looked at Darnell. You married her for the trust, I said. I hope you love her for her personality, because that is all she has left. The room turned. It was visceral. The governor stood up. Patricia, he said, his voice cold. Is this true? Is the check going to clear? Governor, please. It's a temporary. I'm leaving, the governor said. This is a circus. He walked out. Then the CEO of Vertex, then the senators. It was a stampede of silk and wool. No one wanted to be associated with a fraud. Darnell stood alone on the dance floor. The guests were fleeing. The staff was packing up the plates of food that hadn't been served. He turned to Maya. You said it was ironclad, he whispered. Babe, she slapped him. It was a sound like a pistol crack. You idiot, she screamed. You useless, broke idiot. You ruined my life. She ripped at her dress. She tore the veil from her head and threw it on the floor. I want an annulment, she shrieked. Patricia called the lawyer. Get me out of this. Patricia was slumped in her chair, drinking straight from a bottle of wine. It's over, sweetie, she mumbled. The investors, they're all leaving. We're done. Maya stood there. She looked at me. She was crying. Not the tears of a woman sorry for what she did, but the tears of a child who lost her toy. Mom, she sobbed. Please fix it. Write a check. Just this once. I looked at her. I already wrote you a check, Maya, I said. I reached into my flannel pocket. I pulled out the pink envelope. I walked up to her. I placed it in her hand. $1, I said, as per the value of your request. I turned around. I walked toward the door. Maya yelled, Where are you going? Home, I said. My greens are ready. I walked past Marcus. He winked at me. Nice speech, he said. Nice timing, I replied. I walked out into the cool night air. The valet brought my Ford truck around. I climbed in. Behind me, the Kingston Estate was imploding. I could hear the shouting from the parking lot. I started the engine. The rattle was music to my ears. The hearing on Monday was short. Judge Morrison looked at the petition from Sterling and Associates. Then he looked at the police report from the wedding riot. Then he looked at the affidavit I provided from Dr. Washington, the head of neurology at UCLA Medical Center, confirming my cognitive superiority. Mr. Sterling, the judge said, this petition is dismissed with prejudice, and I am referring your firm to the Bar Association for filing a frivolous motion in bad faith. But, Your Honor, Sterling stammered. The trust is perfectly managed, the judge said. Mrs. Hayes, you are free to go. The fall of the House of Kingston was swift. Without the Hayes money to secure the new loans, Patricia's company defaulted on Tuesday. By Friday, the assets were frozen. Darnell filed for an annulment on grounds of fraud. He claimed Maya had misrepresented her financials. He won. He didn't get any money though. Maya didn't have any. Maya filed for bankruptcy. 2 months later, the Honda was repossessed. 6 months later, I was in the garden. The roses were blooming early this year. The mailman arrived. He handed me a single envelope. No stamp. It had been dropped off by hand. It was from Maya. I opened it. Mom, I'm working at Green Thumb Landscapes now. I'm on the mulch crew. It's hard work. My back hurts every day. I saw the news about the foundation. The new wing at the trade school looks nice. I know I can't ask for anything. I just wanted you to know I learned how to drive a manual transmission truck. The foreman says I have good hands. Maybe one day I can show you. Maya, I folded the letter. Good hands, I whispered. That's a start. The next week, Montgomery and I stood in front of the old brick building in downtown Riverside, the Raymond Hayes Center for Preservation Arts. He would have loved this, Montgomery said. He built it, I said. I just signed the check. We cut the ribbon. The students cheered. They were kids who wanted to build things, kids who wanted to fix things, kids like me. I sat on my porch that evening. The sun was going down, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. The house was quiet. The ticking of the clock in the hall was steady. I had lost a daughter, in a way, but I had found her again, perhaps in the mulch pile. Maybe she needed to break to be fixed, just like the watch. I took a sip of my sweet tea. I was alone. I was 72, and I had never felt more structurally sound. Appropriate, I said to the sunset. Completely appropriate. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.